Joie Ashworth, we're live. How are you?
Shawn Williams. Oh my goodness.
I saw you bobbing your head a little bit too
I,
when
wa-
the
I,
music
I
was
like
on.
I like the music, the vibe. I
Thank
like
you.
the vibe in the room. It's always good to set the tone.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes, it is. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. We're gonna let the millions of people pour in here and we'll talk a little bit until they get here and then we'll, get into the reason why.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate you inviting me on, and I appreciate reconnecting with you. I am so excited for you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you're doing big things.
It looks that way. It appears that way. So
No, it's great. That's amazing. And, I heard somebody say once, sometimes you gotta jump off the cliff and build your parachute on the way down.
yeah.
But I was never that brave. And I admire people who are willing to put themselves out there and do their thing and have the confidence in themselves to make it happen.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So
Yeah.
like getting into that, I guess.
Oops.
I was just thinking about what to talk about because if my coach is listening to this, he challenged me to kind of tell a story at the beginning each week, Joie. So we're here because this is called Lending with Purpose, and we have conversations with our clients and our friends, and just introductions to various forms of information and professionals and resources. Right, those that we use, those that we look for that never knew existed, or want to learn more about. And so when I was right before we got started, I was sort of thinking about what I could talk about. And so you mentioned those that are willing to jump off of a cliff. And so I thought about like when I think about the pandemic that we're still currently in and what happened last year, my life kind of flashed before my eyes back last March. Trying to
Mm.
figure out like, man, what is going to happen? What's it going to look like for our industry? Both of us are in, I'm in real estate finance and you're into the real estate piece and actually selling the residential homes. And so I think back to 2008, why I took a job. Like I was getting out of the industry altogether. Like I took a job. I don't know how professional this is going to sound, but I went back to another company that I was working with as an account executive or an account manager, right? Because I wanted to have that stable income because everything that we knew in our industry, you're working 3-4 times as hard, as many hours and such, and you're making a third of what you're used to making. At the time, we had our first child, and it's like, what are we gonna do? And so I started, when I went back and I interviewed and I accepted the job. So the morning, my first day, and it was a commute. I was living in Maryland, still live in Maryland, but driving to DC. And I got to the traffic light at the intersection of the corner where the office building was downtown. And I told myself something said, man, you can't do this. And I called the young lady that I was supposed to be reporting to. And I said, this is Shawn. Good morning. I'm like, I know this is probably going to be very unprofessional and you're going to hate me, but I'm like, I can't come to work. Like I can't start the job. I apologize. But if you need me to help you out until you find someone to replace me, I'll do that. But I can't start working here. So I turned the car around and I stayed in the mortgage industry because I pretty much had all but resigned from my career in mortgages. And I turned the car around and I went back to work. And it's the best thing that I've ever done is not giving up and, kind of believing in myself. Those were some rocky times during that period. But if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be right here, obviously, right now, speaking with you. And so just that
That's
you
amazing.
mentioned about, someone jumping out of the plane and kind of believing in themselves, made me think
Exactly.
about that story.
Yeah, and I really truly believe that you have to do what your heart is calling you to do. I mean, your heart and soul called you to do something. Not everybody gets to figure out what that is. But if you have the opportunity to work in that field, whatever it is that makes you come alive, you know, you'd be turning your back on yourself. And I know that's why you turned that car around because you're like, I have to be honest with myself. This is not the right fit. This is not for me. I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wouldn't have been good for them either because they wouldn't have had all of me. there. And if the business, the industry would have turned around, then, I would have been itching to get back in.
Right.
So I'm like, you got to kind of finish what you started. And so, yeah, so thanks again. So, Joie, as I tell everybody, I'm going to work on these introductions. Maybe not, though, because it takes a lot of energy to introduce someone. And you're likely going to do a much better job introducing yourself than I will. So can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I can introduce myself, but it's not going to sound as cool as if you said it. But
All right.
yeah, so Joie Ashworth, tough name to say. It's French. It means joy. And but I'm used to people mispronouncing it by now. My professional career started in the banking industry. And that's where I got all my management training, securities, mortgage. I used to lead banking centers. And I used to actually put on first time home buyer seminars. And that was one of the things that made me come alive, is because I could see a sea of people coming into my banking center who are looking to me for help,
Right.
and that was just like, they signed up for this. They're not here just because they need a checking account. So that was the first thing that made me go, oh, I like this. And I would get up in front of people and start, I found some hidden talents. I do like to host seminars and workshops. So I'm like, okay, I'm digging this. And the more people I helped, the more alive I felt. But banking wasn't the right fit. I went all the way through wealth management and all of that. And it was good. I learned some valuable skills, met some wonderful people. I do not regret my time in banking, but like you would have been doing with that job, I was basically sheltering. A lot of people are sheltering in place with their job. They're sheltering under this paycheck that they're getting, and they're not really doing what they were put on the face of the earth to do. That's basically what I was doing. So it's fine. While I was working in banking, I started taking some of the advice from my wealth management clients, and I started investing in real estate. And I'm starting to put the pieces together. Like, I really love real estate. I really love helping people. So after I had my kids and I needed more flexibility and less giving my soul to a company, I realized I'm going to depend on myself and create wealth myself. And I'm going to do it at the same time I'm helping people and working in an industry that helps me come alive every morning, that I look forward to getting up and going to. So that's what I'm all about now. That's what I'm here for. My degree is actually in marketing. I didn't really get to use that in banking. Now I get to use that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the topic that we're talking about today is fantastic because it kind of pulls together everything, all my skills, all
That's
my happy places.
You're an awesome mom too. Like, so speaking of marketing and pulling all the skills together, I see through some of your videos and marketing that you involve your kids too as well.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to shamelessly use cute kids to
Twins.
Yeah, I have twins. I have a boy and a girl. They're almost 8. And, who doesn't love to see a little 8-year-old talking about real estate? And you're like, what is that?
Right.
So yeah, they're a lot of fun. And then I get hugs at the end of the day. So
That's awesome. Looks like they have a great time. They have a really good time. So tell me, all right. So we're talking about, staging your home to sell, right? And we obviously we're going to talk about a few other things, but that's the one thing that I know that you do a really good job at, and you have an eye for it. And I'm sure that's what's helping you propel with your clients. Joie, but we're in 2021. All you got to do is put a house on the market now and it sells itself. Why do I need to spend money to stage my house, and why does it need to look any different than what it currently looks like? How do you discuss that with your clients?
I'm so glad you said it that way, because that's so real. That's the challenge that I walk into every time I come into a listing presentation and I start talking about staging. And it is true that in this current market, you probably could put any home on the market in any condition and it would sell. You'd find a buyer, right?
Right.
Why stage? Why should we bother spending the effort of decluttering and neutralizing and clearing out all of our personal stuff? And why should we pay money for staging? And the answer that I give every time that makes the most sense to people is, when you are in a position like sellers are today, you're not after that one offer. Because if you get that one offer, you're now married to that buyer. You really want multiple offers so you can retain your leverage. And the way you do that is you create a frenzy for buyers, and you make them look at your house on the internet, which is where they're going to find it, the beautiful pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at it and they say, I love it. I got to have it. I don't know what it is about that house versus the one that looks just like that, that's completely empty, but I love that one. That's beautiful. And I hear that so much. I love to hear that, because, they're basically taking the bait. We're trying to create a sense of the use of space of the home. It's not interior design. It's not decorating. That has more of a functional aspect. People are going to be living there. With staging, we want to maximize the way the room functions for buyers in their minds before they even show up. So, long story short, to answer your question, if you have, on one hand, a home that's got a whole bunch of personal stuff, it's cluttered, it's not clean,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to find a desperate buyer who's going to say, all right, I'll make you an offer.
Right.
And you didn't bother to try to go out and get other multiple offers. So if something goes wrong with that buyer, they have FOMO because something else comes available. They get cold feet. Their financing falls through. Now you're back on the market. And now what? Everybody thinks that something's wrong with your house. So you really can't take that chance, even in this market. And so I know that most people automatically will run out and, when they get ready to sell their house, they'll run and they'll get, all the cleaning supplies, they'll clean up the house. They might even neutralize and declutter, get some really good pictures. But if there's too much furniture or it's completely vacant, buyers are going to be put off by that. So there's different levels of staging.
Right. And so it sounds like, though, this frenzy that you create because of how you set the property up to look, like you mentioned, helps you to create a multiple offer situation and more demand for that particular home.
Exactly.
Right. And it's largely psychological.
That's right. It's always about taking it up a notch, whether you're in a slow market for sellers or in a hot market. You always want to be in the best position for leverage. It doesn't matter what the market is doing.
Got it. And that I was going to say a little bit of money, but however much it costs to do the staging piece can ultimately turn into more money for you as well. It's a great return on your investment because it creates that sort of frenzy, what we talked about, and gives you more leverage.
Exactly. So let's talk about the money, because the first thing people think when we say staging is, oh, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. Why should I do
I was going to ask.
Yeah. So there's different levels of staging. And you can start with just, interview your agent and say, can we get away with this? And an agent who is adept at walking into a room, meeting a client where they are, and working with what they have is going to say, all right, take this down, put this up. Do you have different flowers? Do you have some fruit, whatever? Most of us can probably do that. Then you have another level where if a home is completely vacant, maybe we'll do some virtual staging. I don't love it, but it's great pictures. A lot of people think it looks fake. A lot of people think it's bait and switch because buyers are going to show up, that furniture is not going to be there. And then you have agents who do light staging. Okay, so let's say there's furniture in the house, people still live there, but you need to fill in the gaps. I have an inventory where I can do everything from light staging up to the point of almost being a stager. I'm not a stager. Okay. All
So
of
what
that is going to be included in my value that I add.
that you add for this. So help me though. Light staging. What does that mean? So hold that thought on the other piece, but light staging.
Yeah. So light staging is just going around and clearing everything off the kitchen counters, literally everything.
Decluttering.
What's that?
So sort of like decluttering a little bit, or not?
Completely changing the attitude of the room.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I mean, a seller has lit. You need you need the microwave and the teapot and the this and the that. Buyers don't want to see your stuff. So let's put your stuff away. I call it hide and shine. Clear off the counter, put an orchid, maybe a pretty teapot on the stove, and that's it. So you have agents who probably have a bunch of orchids and some teapots, and that's just very, very light staging. But then, different levels. I'm a little intense.
So what's next? What happens next?
I'm a little intense. I don't like empty bedrooms, especially primary bedrooms. You got a primary bedroom suite.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to look like a bedroom.
Okay.
So I'm going to put a bed in there. So, if you were to look at my basement right now, much to my husband's dismay, it is a warehouse. And
Oh boy.
I will, I require professional cleaning because this stuff has to come back to my house. But I put a bed in the bedroom and some side tables and a lamp on those side tables. And I put some canvas art on the walls, and this is actually a repurposed art that I had framed that came from somebody's house. So you kind of look at the world differently, but it'll go on the wall and buyers will say, oh, this is nice. I have case study after case study where I come in after another agent who didn't do anything, just a empty room. And that agent said, well, I thought the room was already small. And I thought the furniture would make it look even smaller. The opposite is true. The house that I stage sells almost immediately after we put something in there to give it context. If buyers are just online looking at empty blank walls, they have no context. They think the room is small. But you put a bed in there and they're like, oh, look, there's enough room for a bed and 2 end tables. Boom, I'll take it.
That makes sense because they're going to obviously have a bed and some end tables, or they can relate to it. Like the bed might be the same size or whatnot, or
Mine cannot relate to an empty room. And the statistics are that only 11% of the population can look at something and envision it for what it could be.
Right. And so, Joie, how difficult though is that for you to work with sellers on, like, I won't say convince, but like really like sort of convince? Like, what if I'm dead set against it? Like, it sounds like you have some statistics, and I know if I was selling, I would listen to those statistics because, it would give me a better opportunity and better chances of, like we talked about, having that sort of frenzy. But like, what tactics, tips and such are you doing with sellers to talk more about that and why there's a benefit to doing it?
Yeah, well, I don't force anybody to do anything, but I am a data girl. So I'm going to show them the numbers. I'll show them the statistics. And I didn't just make up the 11% thing. That was something that came from the American Stagers Association. They do certification for actual stagers.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I show sellers in this market, even in this market, when I pull up the numbers of homes, there are still homes that have sat on the market for 35 days. Incredibly, there are still homes that have good kitchens, they look saleable. What's wrong with it? And usually those are the homes that have bad pictures, empty rooms, something happened to the original contract and it came back to the market. We can't take that chance. I want multiple offers, at least 2, so that I can get a good solid contract out of the bunch, and I want a ratified backup. And with that kind of a strategy, I rarely get pushback. I'll tell you, I rarely get anybody who's dead set against staging. When I show them the pictures of what I can do, they're good with it because it's free. It looks pretty, might not be their style. It's a little bling. I'm a bling girl. It's okay.
Bedazzle.
Bling sells. Girls are the ones making the decisions around here.
You're absolutely right.
So, but then when you start talking about real professional stagers, then the conversation shifts a little bit. They're like, well, because I don't do couches and dining room tables and things like that. What if I wanted that kind of stuff, Joie? What am I looking at in terms of cost? So that also depends. Depends on the stager. It depends on the house. So if it's just a swanky condo in Silver Spring downtown somewhere, you might not need luxury staging, but a stager still has to pay their movers, a minimum amount. So probably at the very minimum, you're looking at somewhere between $1,500 on up for, a living room setup, maybe a bedroom setup or rec room area. And I can show pictures. I'm ready to show pictures if you want to see pictures, because all the different levels are interesting to see.
We can. I could show if you wanted to share your screen.
Yeah, because I would love to show you, what it looks like to have a home. I had a home in Kensington that was beautifully staged by one of my go-to stagers. And then even those stagers work differently. So the stager that I use, she's, standard stager, has a contract, requires, it's about a month furniture rental, because, she's going to come set it up. It's going to be beautiful. And you're basically renting her stuff and you're promising to take care of it for that period of time that you market the house. But then there's also stagers who, a company that actually comes in, stages your house, and you pay them at settlement. So if it's about money and we can defer the payment of that cash, but we can still get great photos right up front, even if they have to say, all right, come get your staging. It didn't sell right away, which is rare, but if it happens, they'll at least defer getting paid until settlement, which is great for sellers who are strapped for cash.
Got it. You want to show your pictures? Yeah. I think at the bottom of your screen, it says there's a plus sign with share on it. I'm sure you've seen it, but see if that works.
Shawn thinks I'm a rookie at this technology thing.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, is to talk to you about technology too.
I love some tech. I am a nerd.
There we are.
All right, so this is a $550,000 home in Kensington that sold right away. And as you can see, it's not new. It was built, when this house was built, Shawn,
yeah,
no bathrooms. It did not have a bathroom in the house when the house was built. And when I say that to certain people, it blows their mind. There were outhouses back then.
Right.
These are original wood floors in this room. If it were empty, the eye goes directly to the flaws in the floor.
Yes, absolutely.
And the buyers have no choice but to look at it and go, well, what could I fit in here? This doesn't really, I don't think this is going to work for me. It's an atypical property type that buyers need a suggestion on how to use this space. Okay, so the stager came in, she staged that front room, this dining room. She staged this kitchen. So that's her kitchen setups, the little, teapot and everything. I supplement this, the staging if there are rooms that I just don't want empty.
Mm-hmm.
Come in and stage. So this room I staged in that house. And I'll tell you, at the end of these pictures, I'll tell you what they paid. I staged this room. This is their primary bedroom. Remember, like I said,
It would have been an empty room with nothing, no paintings on the wall.
Yeah,
No bed.
there would have been nothing in here. And so this is my bed, my rugs, my closet set up. This is another one of my bedroom setups. So this is probably the best of the best. This situation is where the stager is coming in and staging the rec room, the front living room, and the kitchen dining room area. And I'm filling in the blanks. Her stuff is beautiful, and mine is okay. My stuff is okay. Oh, she also staged this room in the basement.
Got it.
All of her staging was about $2,500.
Okay.
Which I think is not bad to sell a house right away, $550,000. And some people would look at this house and think it looks a little funky. It's got pieces added onto it. It's got,
From the outside.
Yeah.
And seeing the inside just now, I would not have ever imagined that house could have looked that way.
Right. But that's Kensington for you. You have to do something to get people to see, what is it that we're looking at here.
How much did you list that property for?
I listed it at $550 and it sold at $550. So it sold in multiple offers right away. They got their asking price. But that was about a year ago and the market was very
a year ago. So right now that house would have had tons and tons and tons of offers.
Because that house also sat in a school district that is coveted. Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been crazy. But they didn't know to hold on to it. So
right.
They did a great job. So $2,500 got them a stage property, and I came in and filled in the gaps. I got nothing but positive comments on that. And you can kind of tell based on that one what the other ones would look like. This is a small, here's one that I just sold. Condos are tricky. I'll tell you this. If there's anything you should stage, it's condos, because people love the price, but then they look at the condo fee and they think twice.
Mm-hmm,
if you can get them to fall in love with the space in their minds, they're going to make it work. And so the picture I'm showing you now is dining room, living room space, virtually staged. But I did a combination here because, like I said, I don't have, the real furniture.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to suggest a work from home space here. So there's a little work from home space. I wanted people to see the use of space for the living area and the dining room. But then this is what it looks like without furniture.
Oh, wow.
It just looks a little cold, looks a little lonely, a little sad.
Interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
This is great. This is amazing. I kind of went through this process with my home office. I wanted to kind of give it a flair, and I did some drawings and such, and then I got someone to, kind of help render what it would look like. And based on what I thought the place or the space should look like versus what they rendered was completely different. And I had a whole new perspective on this home office that I'm working from and the type of furniture and placement of the desk and things like that.
I have a lot of respect for people who have vision, because, I can help people to a certain extent, but the stagers, they're creatives. They're very creative with their placement. If you see some of these awkward condos, sometimes you see them in DC, sometimes you see them like in the home I showed you in Kensington.
Yeah.
Where it's just so weird. Sometimes I'm just like, I just don't see it. And I have to run out to, I have to look on Houzz and see, how do people use these spaces? But they get paid what they get paid for a reason. And to me, I think it's extremely reasonable, but If you don't want to pay that money for staging, there are other ways to make the home, look like it has a vibe, like it has a soul, and get the home sold. But either way, I think some effort and some consideration should go into staging every home.
That's great. You have all the realtors clapping for you now. All the realtors that are listening to this, they're like, "That's right. She's right. I've been trying to tell everybody this. She's absolutely right." Now you also have the sellers like, $2,500 is going to help me sell my place faster, or now even in this market, have more leverage. Interesting. No, this was amazing. This is really cool.
Yeah.
I would have been one of those sellers to be like, whatever, just put it on the market and just sell it.
Right.
Well, I'm $2,500 or $1,500 or whatever. Like, it's empty. I'm taking my bed. I'm taking all that stuff.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and I get it. Who wants to spend money up front? But if I can show you that, I mean, the statistics are out there as well. If you go to the Stagers Association websites, they have all of them. Staged homes sell for more. They sell faster. They sell better. You're after those terms, so it's the devil's in the details. The terms will derail you every single time. If you get a bad contract with a buyer who's not truly on board, that could cost you a good sale, so you go back to the market. Now you have to reduce your price in a market where everybody is selling, it just would make you crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But my recommendation is don't hesitate. Like, if you're ready to put your house on the market, talk to an agent who knows what they're doing sooner rather than later. Rip the Band-Aid off, get them to tell you all the ugly details that they see that need to be worked on. Excuse me, because staging also starts from the outside. I talked to a seller the other day who had a beautiful home, but not a great roof. There was moss on it. There was some missing shingles. It was stained, that there's a product called Soft Wash that could make that look much better. If you don't want to put on a new roof, that's fine. I can't make you do it. But, if you want to remove the distractions from a buyer who's going to roll up to the house and look at the roof, then you have to start looking at what are they seeing with their eyes when they first pull up to my house. What does the landscaping and the curb appeal look like? And so some of those things are they're going to take a little bit more time than just coming in, putting in some furniture and selling a house.
Wow. Joie, how can we find you?
JoieTheRealtor.com. I'm sorry. JoieTheRealtor.com will take you somewhere, but that's going to take you to my location. But if you find me on social anywhere at Joie the Realtor, I'm pretty much everywhere.
At Joie the Realtor.
At Joie the Realtor. Yep. Slide into my DMs. Professional DMs only.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're not worried about that. Like, yeah. She is a great mother and a wife. Your husband's really cool. I hope he's doing well these days.
He's doing great. There's probably 4 Zoom calls going on in this house right now, and he's on one of them on a board meeting. So
yeah. No, that's amazing. So, at Joie the Realtor. So we'll put that in the comments as well. And so, thank you for your time. I'm not going to let you off that easily.
Of course.
Lending. So we told the lending part at the beginning with purpose. And then, so now this is a purpose piece. And, so Joie, you get, one person, dead or alive. You get one question. Who would it be? What would you ask?
When I think of lending with purpose, people who live their life with purpose, one person that comes to mind that I wish I had an opportunity to talk to is Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we now know he was working through tremendous illness,
Yeah,
Still
cancer.
putting out like an amazing, I don't know if I would love to ask him, were you afraid that people would not, work with you if you told them about your illness? I mean, you were stage 3, stage 4, it was progressing, and nobody knew, but he was just as kind. He was kicking a dent in this earth, and we had no idea what his struggles were. And I think if anybody can relate to that, it's now, because the world is, there's a lot of people struggling.
Right.
And we worry about, do we tell everybody everything we're going through or not? So yeah, I feel like he's gone way too soon. He could have done a lot for a lot of people's purpose.
That's awesome. I love that perspective.
Yeah,
Haven't heard Chadwick Boseman yet.
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a good guy. I could only imagine what he was going through. He did that with a ton of courage and very super professional. He even, finished movies being very sick. And he was losing weight and everything. And, people were just thinking it may have been for a role that he was doing. And from my understanding, of everything that I read, he kept it tight in his inner circle. And people loved him enough not to leak anything and to put him in a bad situation with the media. So, yeah, that's awesome. Chadwick Boseman. Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, absolutely. People are, you have to always be kind. People are fighting battles you know nothing about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Joie, thank you. So everybody that's listening, we're here every Thursday at 2:00. It's great for me because I have amazing friends and clients like this that I get an opportunity to speak with 30 to 45 minutes every week. Just, continue to do as best as you can to be safe, and try to stay as healthy as you possibly can. If there's anything that I can do or anyone in my network, or obviously me to connect you with anyone in the network, I'm happy to do so. And then, I just want to help as best as we can. So everybody have a great day, and we will see you next week. Joie, if you can just hang on for a quick minute with me, I'll let you go after I close this out. But everybody have a great one. And thank you, Joie. You did an awesome job. And I knew there was some benefit in staging, but now I see the real benefit, something for me even to talk about with partners that we have and just, referral sources and such. So, and even clients that ask about it, I can validate it now for you.
Yeah, it's fun because people come to me. I've had new construction sales consultants call me and say, I know what you do. So can you please put these home on the market and do that thing you do with the zhuzh, they need zhuzh on their house because they have to sell this house in order to buy ours. So can you go do your thing, please? Once people see, all they got to do is look, it speaks for itself.
Right. The numbers don't lie. Well, everybody have a great one. Thanks again, Joie.
All right. Take care.
All right.